All right, welcome everybody to our fifth podcast, as of yet unnamed podcast. If you have names for us that you'd like us to consider, just let us know. Um, so today I wanted to share a little bit about my experience of feeling kind of depressed a couple of weeks ago that lasted for about a week, how I handled it. Um, and in particular to talk about the worth of being in contact with your emotions, with your sort of your direct experience, your underlying experience of the world.
Mm.
um, and so anyway, I think that will be helpful in regard to depression as well as in regard to other things. So my name is David. I'm a licensed psychologist in the Phoenix, Arizona area.
And my name is Liang, and I'm a licensed psychologist based in Seattle.
And Liang and I are really excited to have you with us. Thanks for spending the time to hang out with us today and learn a little bit about psychology and managing yourself. So,
Yeah, thank
uh,
you, David, for being vulnerable and choosing a topic that's very personal.
yeah, no problem. So I guess before we dive into my story, Liang, is feeling depressed? Is this something that, I mean, I imagine it's come up for all of us at some point, but is this something that you have experience with yourself as well?
Yeah, for sure. Though when I was younger, I would like to think that like I'm just this, calm and happy person. But as I get older, as I am more in touch with my emotions, I do realize that there are times when I feel down and depressed. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And how do you know? Just because I think, the folks listening might not know, okay, depression, I kind of have a sense of what that means, but like, what does that mean to a psychologist? Like, what did you see in yourself that made you think, oh, maybe this is like what they call depression?
I think for me, it's probably starts with my mood, like just like sort of like just like a little bit more down, more lethargic, like not wanting to like do things that I normally would enjoy. Just wanting to, and just have almost like this, just like kind of everything just seems a little bit depressing, and sometimes I will have like negative thoughts, and I can tell you more about. Um, yeah, it's like negative thoughts about like, oh man, life really sucks. But
Uh-huh.
sometimes even more alarming than that. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, our brain is sort of just a thought mechanism, and it generates 100,000 thoughts every day that are tangential or might be helpful. And so sometimes when you're feeling down, it comes up with all sorts of kind of wild things that it thinks maybe might help you to
Mhm.
think about. Um, yeah, that sounds similar to my experience recently. What I noticed in myself, um, first thing I noticed was like a desire to sleep
Mm.
that I'd get most of the way through the day till maybe like
Mm.
7 p.m. or something. And then I would just start feeling like, I just want to go to, well, let's just end the day. Like, let's just go to bed and sleep.
Mm.
Maybe we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, and at first I thought, well, maybe I'm just tired, you
Mhm.
know. But
Mm.
then I became aware of this thing that we call in the field anhedonia, which comes from not and then hedonic, which means like enjoying yourself, pleasurable, which is that things I used to enjoy, I wasn't enjoying so much.
Mhm.
Um, and I just wasn't enjoying as many things. Like life just felt more like a slog. And it
Mm.
just felt off, as
Mm.
opposed to, enjoying some things, not other things like normal. Um, so those were the two things that made me think,
Mm.
you know what, maybe something else is up. And then it lasted
Uh,
for a while.
mm. Mm.
Yeah.
So like wanting to sleep a lot, and anhedonia, not wanting to do things that you normally would enjoy. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
think anhedonia. I think anhedonia is probably a very common one.
yeah. So, and I think these are really common for a lot of people. So, and for me, there are some people who are depressed for long periods. For me, it's sort of it's more intermittent. It might come, and there's some. This is what I want to talk about. There's often some meaning behind it,
Yeah.
um, and if you can figure that out, it can be really helpful.
Yeah.
And so yeah. So anyway,
Yeah. A week seems like, so in the diagnosis for depression, right, it's 2 weeks. So a week, it's not, obviously you're not clinically you were not clinical depressed, but is in how, compared to your, like, how you normally feel, it's like a week, does that feel like a long time, or do you have more like, oh, maybe you just feel bad for a day or two? Was this episode longer than usual?
yeah, a week is definitely long.
Okay.
I mean, I think everybody has bad days, right? Days where you're just grumpy. You're like grumpy cat all day or whatever, or
Right.
for parts of a day, or maybe for a couple few days if something is really, in the way or giving you trouble.
Mm.
But this felt, yeah, so a week caught my attention. But yeah, the first few days I was like, whatever, maybe I'm just grumpy cat, right?
Mhm,
But
mhm, mhm.
um, yeah.
Okay.
And so, what I tend to do is to try to figure out what's going on underneath.
Mm.
Because most of the time, I'd say I'd wager almost all the time, there's some reason, there's some logic that, kind of like we talked about before, that your inner states are meaningful. They're
Mhm.
reliable indicators about how your life is going, whether your needs are met or not. So I just sat down and journaled.
Mm.
For me, journaling is really helpful.
It's great. Yeah.
And part of what came up is, so I've had tendonitis in my ankles for about 5 years. I
Mm,
haven't been able to walk more than at the most about 25 minutes at a
mm,
stretch.
mm,
Um, and lately, I sprained one of my ankles, and I haven't even been able to walk for like 5 minutes.
mhm,
So I
mhm,
realized, for me, underneath what was going on was this intense sense of helplessness, not
mm,
being able to have fun, not being able to move my body. It limited me doing things with my family.
mm.
Uh, and on top of it, I re-injured the ankle like 3 times every time it started healing. And so I
Mhm.
think I had a sense of, oh my gosh, it reminded me of when I first got tendonitis and I couldn't even walk a block.
Right.
So there's this still this intense feeling of
Mhm,
sadness and helplessness inside of me.
mhm,
And the
mhm,
benefit of becoming aware of it for me was twofold. One, and this is some of what I want to talk about, is being able to be with your direct emotional experience,
mm,
as long as it isn't overwhelming, is really healthy.
mm, mm,
Um, but also, I became aware, once I knew what was going on, I could identify what are the needs underlying this feeling,
mm,
and how do I meet those in the best way that I can. So
mm.
one was to be strong and to move my body.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another was to have fun. Another was to chart some sort of course out of this injury.
Mm.
So
Yep.
I
Yep.
s- I talked with my wife and we figured out, well, maybe I can join a gym and start swimming because I can do that no matter how my ankle is, right?
Mm,
And
mhm.
maybe I can start doing these new therapies for my ankle.
Yeah.
Maybe I can lose a little weight,
Yeah. Yeah.
And once I was able to do that, I felt much better because I was doing what I could to meet those needs.
Mm. So why is sitting with your emotional, or getting in touch with your emotion, why do you think that was important for you? Because I think a lot of people hear that, right? Like, hey, you should get in touch with your emotion, you should be present with them, but why was that helpful for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It really digs pretty far deep into what does it mean to be human.
Mm,
Um, But so I think there's a way in which when we're not able to be with our experience, to tolerate it, to have it, uh, and to experience it, to hold it in our consciousness, the alternative is we need to block it in some way. We need to distract ourselves with something external, right? Our phone, television, food, something. Or internally, we block it by thinking of something else or feeling something else.
Right.
But what that creates is whole areas inside of ourselves that are like black holes that we can't actually approach or be with. So this happens, for instance, with trauma. If we've had an experience that was too overwhelming to be with and we just avoid it, it's an area of our life that we can't go near. And so the more of these areas there are, the more constricted we are, the more constricted just our life energy is. Whereas if we're able to actually feel what's underneath, not only does it give us information about what we need to be happy in our life, but it's almost like a river that's been dammed and created like a swamp because of it, and that you're finally clearing out and it's allowed to flow. So you actually, for anybody who's really processed emotions well in therapy or with friends or whatnot, there's a feeling of release, of empowerment, and the ability to encounter all of life, to not be scared and have to avoid or run away.
Right. Well, I really like that metaphor of like emotion, like that if you kind of block it or put it aside, sometimes it becomes like a swamp, and you wanted to let it kind of flow. Because I think one of the one component of emotional intelligence is actually recognizing that emotion changes, and I think that when you feel a certain way, like depressed, even if you sit with it, it doesn't stay. You don't stay depressed. That emotion actually just naturally shifts, right? Maybe with your thoughts, with where your mind is going, or maybe with different activities of the day.
Yeah, and one of the distinctions that I think is useful is we have some emotions that are our core organic reaction or expression in the moment that something happens, right? If you lose something, you feel sadness or helplessness. If you can't get to a goal, you feel frustration or anger. That's the core experience that's helpful to be with. Now, if we can't be with it, if it's too overwhelming, if we judge it to be too overwhelming, often our subconscious layers over it something else that's easier to be with. So let's say someone close to me, I lose a relationship, let's say, and I feel intense sadness, but I don't feel safe feeling that. I might layer it over with just a feeling of numbness, or maybe anger or blame or depression. That feeling that the protective emotion is not so helpful. It softens the blow, but we can't process it just at this higher level. In order to process it, it takes us going, in my view at least, to the direct emotion, down to where it's organic and really feeling that again.
Interesting. Yeah. So you could, if you don't get in touch with the deeper core emotion, we may have tendency to layer it with emotions that are maybe more, as I guess I think of like kind of like Freudian, like the defense mechanism. Maybe it's like
Yes.
you displace it, or you project it onto somebody else, or maybe
Right.
distract it or replace it with a different emotion.
Exactly. And what this speaks to is that our mind has this natural ability to protect us when it views that something is too overwhelming.
Mm.
And that's a good thing. I'm not saying everybody should go just like dive headfirst into the ice cold lake of their trauma. It's
Mm.
actually healthy not
Mm.
to feel these deep emotions if we can't handle it.
Right, right.
The difference is, as we become older, we still react as if we can't hold things, as if we can't handle it, when in fact, maybe we can. Or maybe in a close relationship or in a therapy relationship, it actually is safe enough to touch this thing that feels like, oh, if I touch it, I'm going to
Mm.
die or something.
And how long do you hold that emotion for? Are you talking about like for minutes or
I
how
mean,
what if
in my view, Liang, we hold these emotions forever, that they are in our body, they're in our mind, they sit there, and we're not really even aware of them. Sometimes all we're aware of is, you know, my shoulder. Maybe you see this in other people who walk around with their shoulders really tense, right? Or
yeah,
with their head down,
I
or,
see, I see.
you know,
Right.
crossing their arms in front of them. We sort of unconsciously work to protect ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And yeah, I think we hold on to these until, the positive way of looking at this is that our body and our mind store these so
Mm-hmm.
that we can heal them or process them later.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. So in your case, right, if you were concerned, right, feeling hopeless about or helpless about your ankle, is something that is actually subconsciously there
Yes,
almost all the time, and so
right.
it affects how you feel throughout the day, not in just only when you think about it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like a computer with tasks running in the background.
Uh-huh.
You don't necessarily notice those tasks, but you can tell the machine is running slowly or
Mhm.
that it's not working real well. Like, same with us. Like, all
Yeah.
I could tell, I
Right.
actually wasn't in touch with the intensity of my helplessness and sadness
Right.
and anger. I was just in touch with, I don't feel well.
Yeah.
So it helps to look under the hood, so to speak, and figure out,
Mhm.
what don't I feel well about? And
Mhm.
then what can I do about it? Right. So,
Right.
uh,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
once you figure out the cause of why you were feeling down, then you can kind of investigate that and take some action, right? So in your case, maybe it's like, oh, maybe can lose some weight, or maybe can, still do things that I feel good about.
Yeah, exactly. This is one of the main benefits of emotion, along with them communicating to others,
Hmm.
through your face and your body language, what's going on. It
Hmm.
communicates to yourself when you have a feeling. There's always an arrow pointing to a need.
Hmm.
What is it that I need? And until I knew that, it's so funny. Like, it's like you and I, whatever, we do this, 40 hours a week for decades, right? But inside of ourselves, it's still like, I feel bad. I don't know why I feel bad.
Yeah. Why do you think it took like? Did it take like a week for you to notice
Yeah.
that this is something that's actually not short term, not just like fleeting, but it's actually has something that's really persistent. It
Yeah.
took a week. Okay.
Like
Yeah.
a week, which is because, my mood varies day to day. So for a
Okay.
day or, yeah.
Yeah. And how long did it take for you to feel better once you did what you just described, right? First getting kind of recognizing it, doing some journaling, and then doing some reflection.
I would say that at first, I had a lot of relief just in that first hour. There's
Mm,
sort of like, the not fun period of coming into contact with
right,
direct and unpleasant emotions. But
right.
after writing about it and
Mm,
feeling them, and
mhm.
it turns out, by the way, that oftentimes we're really scared of emotions, but when we actually feel it, it's not that bad to feel it, right? We felt worse things before.
Right. Mm,
Um,
right.
yeah, it was about an hour. And then I think it took a little while longer, maybe a day or two or three to sort of like see how it settled inside of me. Like, are these actions I've chosen really going to meet my needs? Does
Mhm.
this really actually make me feel better, all the way better, most of the way better? So
Right.
it wasn't like a
Yeah.
panacea.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the condition is still present, right? That your ankle is still not fully, you know, healed. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. But what's interesting is what I've found is once I identify what I can do, I had
Mm-hmm.
an old supervisor who used to say, "Where is," to ask my clients, "Where is your power in this situation?" Because
Right.
we all have some power somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and once I can identify what it is that I can do, then
Right.
I often feel better
Right.
because I'm doing what I can do,
Right. Right.
even if I can't,
Mm-hmm.
maybe I'd feel all the way better if I had a magic wand and I could
Mm-hmm.
run laps again and
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
whatnot.
Well, I
Yeah.
think that's the core principle of the cognitive therapy is that people suffer not because of the situation, right, but because of our reaction to the situation. Yeah.
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 So, yeah, I mean, I'm curious what this brings up for you, Liang, or if you have,
Yeah. I think, we had a phone call before this
yeah.
podcast to talk about, and then it definitely reminded me of a recent experience. And I think one of the, and the experience, so in the earlier episode where I talk about turning 50 and just feeling this restlessness, I think there's also another emotion where I think I just feel this like hopelessness of like that I'll be able to,
Ah,
not that I won't be able to figure this out, but it was kind of weird that I feel like, okay, even if I overcome this, I feel like, well, there's going to be another obstacles, you maybe in a couple years or in 5 years, another 10 years, that life is this almost like constant struggle,
mhm,
right? So, when I was young, like I was trying to, okay, what is my career? And if I can only figure out my career, then I would be like, so much happier, right? And I figure out my career now, and it's like, well, but why am I still kind of struggling with this meaning and purpose?
yeah.
And I had this thought that like, yeah, like this thing is it's there's no destination where I feel like if I get there, then I'll be happy. And
Uh-huh.
so I had this realization that, oh my gosh, it's like we will never have things figured out, right? That
Mm,
we are constantly, you know, um, this struggle to find meaning, restlessness, right? This desire for, um, I don't know, maybe more recognition, more money.
mhm,
And I don't think I've ever in my life felt this piece of like doing nothing, right?
mhm.
And so it was, I felt like it was like a fleeting thought, but it kind of came up in kind of different, like surprising way. I was thinking about buying a lottery ticket, right? And then for some reason was this really odd thought came, right? So okay, so what if I win the lottery? Now I have
Right.
like $100 million, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so well then I don't, okay, so I don't, now I don't have to worry about money anymore. But I can see myself still being bored after a couple years, right?
Mhm.
But now, well, what do I do now that I have like all the money that I could ever spend? But now where does my meaning come from? So,
Yeah.
and I was like, well, I might even feel worse than now, because now at least I have a goal. Like maybe, okay, I want to make more money, but like
Like a reason you need to get up and do things.
right, but if you have $1 million and now then it's like, well, that takes away one of my motivation.
Yeah.
And so I have this really weird thought. It's like, okay, maybe I don't want to win the lottery.
Uh-huh.
Which is odd, right? Who wouldn't want to win the lottery, right? Uh,
Yeah.
because yeah, so so that was another way where this kind of manifested, this feeling of like kind of hopelessness. And it's like a very fleeting thought. It's like, maybe like, dying wouldn't be so bad, because then I wouldn't have to like go deal with this kind of human struggle, right?
Right.
And so, but obviously, yeah, but of course, like when that thought came up, it's like, well, that's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense, right? So yeah, so I think that was maybe, I don't think it was like I felt down or depressed for long periods of time, but it was maybe moments of um hopelessness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It, it
uh,
sounds, yeah, it sounds like it, that that reflecting back on this feeling that we talked about in our, I think that was our first episode,
mhm.
um, that you're aware maybe there are other things underneath it, other more sort of core or direct or intense experiences, and that this is the boredom is sort of the layering over.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I really appreciate you sharing so openly about the thoughts about dying. I think I, I can't say this for everybody, but
Mm.
it's come up for myself. I think it's just, mm, when life is really hard, that feels like
Right. Right.
almost a little bit like me being like, "Well, let's just go to sleep."
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I tell this
to
to my clients all the time, right? It's like, hey, like
Yeah,
being like passive suicide ideation, it's very normal whenever we feel stressed, right? That's a natural way to want to escape, right? Like if I can just not be here anymore, right, then all the suffering will end. So it was kind of alarming for me to have that thought myself, but
right.
also kind of maybe humanizing, right? That, hey, like, okay, that's how it feels like, right? Doesn't mean that I'm actually gonna want to kill myself, or that I'm like super unhappy. But even though I'm generally very content and happy with my life, I could still have those thoughts once in a while.
Yeah, and we have, again, our brain creates tons of thoughts. Doesn't mean we should do them.
Right.
And for those of you who are listening, if these are thoughts that come up for you, I feel like it's a public service announcement, but like really, like if you find yourself really worried about hurting yourself or killing yourself or anybody else for that matter,
Mhm.
um, it's a really good idea to, there are crisis lines. 988 is the national suicide prevention line. You can text or call. There are local crisis lines as well. You could also call 911. Um, and yeah, and talk to somebody you really trust who really cares about you, um, and they can help guide you through it. Certainly, a professional like a counselor or your doctor is a good person to talk to too. Um, yeah. Well, no, I appreciate you sharing it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's I think a more common experience, especially doing therapy. We see this more than other people talk about. Um, but also, I'm aware that your comment is broader than just the part
Mhm.
about thoughts of killing yourself. Of
Right.
like there are some ways in which I don't know where the meaning is in my life,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. And I think I also um, reflected on, okay, what are things that to what are actions that I can take, like very similar to what you said about like, hey, like, okay, now I don't like this situation. How else can I um, still enjoy my
Mhm.
life, or find, like in your case with the ankle, well, I can still maybe do. There's still a lot of things that you can do even though your ankle is not fully healed. And
Yeah.
likewise, like even though maybe I haven't figured out exactly what my big project is going to be, but hey, I can do, a podcast here. Like I could, try to, well, I think the podcast is actually really fun for me. So that's actually giving me some, this feeling of growth, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that there's this thing that we're creating, and every episode we're thinking about how can we make it better, how can we get even one more views, right? So
I think we have 5 subscribers. I'm so excited. It's
We
like 5
actually
people who gets probably like my parents and my brother and like me and you. But
yeah, we actually have 10, but yeah, you're
do we
right.
have 10?
Yeah,
Oh
this
my goodness.
friends and families.
Right. And hopefully you too, dear listener.
That's right. So if you are listening to this, make sure you subscribe.
Press subscribe. It's gonna really improve my life and Liang's. Right? Is there a word for that? Pity subscribe or something?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, Liang. I'm really curious to like talk to you more and hear more about like what some of to our theme, like the underlying feelings and needs are that you don't feel like are totally met in your life that make you happy. I don't know if you want to do that in a different podcast or just a
Yeah,
chat
I think
or
we can do it maybe with another episode.
yeah.
Because I think that's also a pretty big and deep topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anything else that you want to say today before we wrap up?
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this was fun. I appreciate it.
All right.
And thank you, all of you, for watching or listening. And yeah, please, as we said, subscribe, like, and if you want to comment below about, your experience around these topics of either feeling depressed or sense of sort of malaise, um, how you dealt with it, or times where you didn't feel quite right, but then you realized there was something going on underneath, and how you came to that, we'd love to hear. We really do enjoy reading people's comments. So, okay, great. Well, great to spend the time with all of you. And now I just need to figure out how to stop recording. I figured it out.